You know, how some parties, especially the big ones in weird, sprawling buildings, just feel chaotic, like a maze made of loud music, sweaty people, and confusing hallways. It's easy to get turned around, especially after a beer or two. You duck off to find the bathroom, take one wrong turn, and suddenly you're not quite sure how to get back to your friends, back to the noise, back to where you're supposed to be. Usually, it's just a funny, slightly embarrassing few minutes of backtracking. But this one time it wasn't funny at all. It was Sarah's friend, Mark, who was throwing the party. Some kind of warehouse conversion downtown. One of those massive old brick buildings split into lofts and apparently event spaces. I didn't know Mark well, but Sarah insisted it would be epic. And honestly, walking in, it kind of was huge space, exposed pipes overhead painted black, pulsing colored lights, music thumping loud enough to feel in your chest. Packed. Absolutely packed. After maybe an hour of shouting over the music and navigating the dense crowd, I was overheating and desperately needed the bathroom. Sarah pointed vaguely towards a corridor off the main space. Down there somewhere, I think. She yelled over a particularly heavy bass drop. Helpful. So, I squeezed my way through the throng and into the relative quiet of the corridor. It was still loud, the music echoing off the concrete walls, but less intense. The corridor stretched ahead, dimly lit, with several identical unmarked doors on either side. Okay, typical confusing venue layout. I tried the first door on the right. Locked. Second door. Also locked. Third door. Bingo. It swung open, silently. But it wasn't the bathroom. I stepped through, expecting maybe a storage area or another part of the party, and the door clicked shut behind me. Instantly, the music died. Not just muffled, but gone. Like flipping a switch. I was standing in another corridor, identical to the one I just left. Same concrete walls, same dim lighting spaced too far apart, same series of identical, unmarked doors. But the sound was wrong. It was utterly silent. Not just quiet, but a heavy, oppressive silence that felt like it was pressing in on my ears. My first thought was I'd somehow stumbled into a soundproof section, maybe offices, but why would it look exactly the same? And where did the party noise go so abruptly? I turned back to the door I'd come through, pushed it. It didn't budge. Pushed harder. Nothing. It felt solid, locked tight, even though there was no visible lock on this side. Weird. Okay. Don't panic. Must be another way back. I started walking down the silent corridor. My footsteps echoed unnervingly loud on the concrete floor. Each door I passed was closed. I tried a few knobs, all locked. The air felt still and cold. Colder than the party area. There was a faint, almost undetectable smell, like dust and maybe disinfectant or something chemical. Then I saw him, standing near the end of the hallway, partially obscured by shadow, was a guy. He was facing away from me, towards a door. Dressed kind of like he was at the party, jeans, dark hoodie, but standing completely motionless. Relief washed over me. Someone else. Hey, I called out, my voice sounding weak in the heavy silence. Sorry, bit lost. Trying to get back to the party? He didn't turn around. Didn't react at all. Hello? I said, walking closer. Do you know the way back? I got within a few feet of him. He still hadn't moved a muscle. It was unnatural. People shift their weight. They breathe visibly. Something. This guy was like a statue. And the silence. It wasn't just quiet around him. It felt like the silence was coming from him. I reached out, about to tap his shoulder, and then I hesitated. Something felt profoundly wrong. I slowly backed away. He remained absolutely still, facing the door. Okay, new plan. Find stairs. An elevator. Anything. I quickly walked past him, giving him a wide berth, and reached the end of the corridor. It turned right into another identical stretch of hallway. More closed doors, and further down this new section, another figure. This one was a woman, leaning against the wall, head bowed slightly, also completely motionless. My heart started pounding. This wasn't right. This wasn't just getting lost. Where the hell was I? It looked like the party floor, but felt like somewhere else entirely. A weird, silent imitation. I tried another door, locked, another, locked, then one opened. I practically fell inside, desperate for anything different. It was a small, empty room. Completely bare concrete walls, floor, ceiling. No windows. Just a single bare bulb hanging from a wire overhead, casting stark shadows. In the exact center of the room was a single folding chair, facing the corner. That was it, nothing else. The disinfectant smell was stronger in here. I backed out quickly, pulling the door shut. The click echoed down the silent hall. Panic started to set in. I hurried down the corridor, past the silent woman, desperately looking for an exit sign, stairs, anything. Found an elevator. Pushed the button. Nothing happened. The indicator light above it was dark. Pushed it again, frantically jabbing. Dead. Okay. Stairs. There had to be stairs. I kept moving, turning another corner into yet another identical hallway, and yes, more silent figures. One leaning at a doorway, one standing halfway down, facing the wall. They never moved. They never made a sound. It was like stumbling into a gallery of unsettlingly lifelike mannequins, except the air hummed with a low-level dread that told me these weren't mannequins. I finally saw it. A red exit sign glowing faintly above a heavy-looking metal door at the far end. Hope surged. I practically ran towards it. As I got closer, I realized it looked like a fire escape door. Didn't care. Just needed out of this silent, creepy maze. I slammed my hand against the push bar. With a groan of rusty metal, the door swung open. Onto darkness. Not just night darkness, but a thick, absolute blackness, like stepping into void. And a rush of freezing cold air hit me, tearing that same faint chemical smell, but stronger now. No stairs visible, no alleyway lights, just nothing. A pitch black drop. I recoiled, letting the heavy door slam shut. The boom echoed endlessly down the corridor. Behind me, I heard a faint sound, a scrape, like a shoe shifting on concrete. I whipped around. One of the figures down the hall, the one who had been facing the wall, had turned its head slightly. It was looking directly at me. I couldn't make out features in the dim light, just the dark shape of a head angled towards me, watching. That was it. I full-on sprinted back the way I came, past the silent figures, past the empty room with the chair, past the first guy still facing his door. My breath hitched in my throat, raw panic clawing at me. I didn't know where I was going, just running blindly back through the identical corridors, desperate to find the door I first came through. Turning a corner I thought was familiar, I suddenly slammed into something soft but solid. Music exploded around me. Laughter, voices, the heat and smell of the crowded party hit me like a wave. I'd stumbled right back into the main party area, almost knocking over a couple making out against the wall. I stood there, gasping, heart hammering against my ribs, blinking in the flashing lights. The transition was so abrupt, so jarring, it felt physically painful. People pushed past me. The bass vibrated through my bones. It was real. It was loud. It was normal. I frantically scanned the crowd, found Sarah near the makeshift bar, and practically dragged her outside into the cool night air of the alleyway where smokers were gathered. "Whoa, what's wrong?" she asked, seeing the look on my face. I tried to explain, stumbling over my words, talking about the silent floor, the locked doors, the people who didn't move, the door to nowhere. She frowned, looking concerned, but mostly confused. "Dude, are you okay? Did you drink something weird? This building is a maze. Maybe you just got freaked out on an empty office floor or something?" No, Sarah, it looked exactly like the party floor, but wrong, silent, and those people probably just other partygoers chilling out, she offered, clearly not getting it. Or, yeah, maybe staff areas. Don't worry about it. I didn't push it. How could I explain the bone-deep wrongness of that place? The oppressive silence? The figure turning its head? It sounded crazy, even to me now, standing in the noisy reality of the alley. We didn't stay much longer. I couldn't shake the feeling. Leaving the building, walking out onto the normal city street, felt like surfacing after being held underwater too long. I kept looking back at the massive warehouse, up at the rows of windows, wondering which one belonged to the silent floor. Was it just panic? Disorientation amplified by the weird building? Maybe, but that feeling of stepping out of reality into a cold, silent, watchful imitation hiding just behind a normal door. That feeling hasn't left me. It makes me hesitant at big parties now, wary of unfamiliar corridors and closed doors. Because part of me is convinced that the quiet floor is still there, waiting just one wrong turn away. And those silent figures, they're still waiting too. Costume parties can be a blast. It's fun seeing how creative people get hiding behind masks and personas for a night. But sometimes a mask doesn't feel like just part of a costume. Sometimes it feels like it's hiding something genuinely unsettling, something that watches you from behind painted on eyes. I went to this Halloween party last year where one guest just radiated that feeling. Haven't been able to forget it. The party was at this huge old house rented out by a group of art students. You know the type? Sprawling rooms, slightly rundown but atmospheric, perfect for a big Halloween bash. It was packed wall to wall, music thumping, elaborate decorations everywhere, fake cobwebs, spooky lighting, the works. Most costumes were pretty standard. Witches, vampires, pop culture references. Some were amazing, some were lazy, all part of the fun. I was mingling, drink in hand, trying to find my friends in the semi-darkness and chaos. That's when I first noticed him. Or maybe the figure was standing near the edge of the main room, partially silhouetted against a dimly lit doorway, just slightly apart from the main flow of people. The costume itself wasn't overtly terrifying like some monster getup. It was almost blank. The figure wore simple, dark, slightly baggy clothes, nothing distinctive. But the mask, that was the thing. It was a plain white mask, completely smooth, covering the entire face. No expression, no features besides two small, dark eye holes. Think like a blank mannequin face, but smooth and more stylized. It wasn't scary in an obvious way, more in a deeply unnerving, uncanny valley kind of way. The figure just stood there, perfectly still, head angled slightly towards the crowd, seemingly observing. Didn't talk to anyone, didn't move to the music. Just stood. Creepy, sure, but it was a Halloween party. People do weird performance art stuff, try to be unsettling. I figured it was just someone really committed to their minimalist horror aesthetic. I shrugged it off, went to find my friends. Found them near the kitchen, got absorbed in conversation. Maybe 20 minutes later, I glanced back towards the doorway where the blank mask figure had been gone. Okay, guess they moved on. But then, scanning the crowded room, I saw the mask again. This time, it was on the other side of the room, near the makeshift bar, partially hidden behind a group of laughing pirates. Still motionless, still seemingly observing, and this time, I could have sworn the dark eye holes were pointed directly at me. A little shiver went down my spine. Probably coincidence. Big party, lots of people looking everywhere. Still, I felt a prickle of unease. I pointed the figure out to my friend Jess. Hey, see that guy? The blank white mask? Kinda creepy, right? Jess squinted through the flashing lights. Where? Oh, yeah. Huh. Weird. Don't know who that is. Never seen him before. Nobody else in our group recognized the figure either. Which was odd, because while it was a big party, it wasn't that big. Mostly interconnected groups of friends. A complete unknown was unusual. Throughout the next hour, it kept happening. I'd be talking, laughing, getting another drink, and then I'd catch a glimpse of that smooth, white, expressionless mask out of the corner of my eye. Always somewhere different, by the stairs, leaning against a wall near the back door. Once, disturbingly, standing silently at the end of the darkened upstairs hallway when I went looking for the less crowded bathroom up there. Each time, the figure was still, silent, and seemed to be oriented vaguely in my direction, though the lack of features made it hard to be sure. Each time, it felt less like coincidence and more like placement. Like they were deliberately positioning themselves within my line of sight, then vanishing when I looked away for too long. The unsettling feeling grew. Was someone messing with me? Did I know them? And they were playing an elaborate prank behind the mask? But who? And why? The blankness of the mask was the worst part. It offered no clues, no emotion, just those two dark holes where eyes should be. It felt less like a person in a costume and more like something wearing a person's suit, badly. The way they stood, too still, sometimes at slightly odd angles. It didn't feel entirely human. I started actively trying to avoid seeing the mask. Stuck close to my friends, kept my back to the corners of the room where I'd last seen it. Tried to just enjoy the party. But the awareness of that figure being somewhere in the house, potentially watching, gnawed at me. The music started to sound grating. The laughter too loud. The fun, chaotic atmosphere now felt claustrophobic and vaguely threatening. Around midnight, I was trying to get some fresh air out on the crowded porch, talking to some people I barely knew, trying to act normal. Then I felt it, that prickly sensation on my neck again. Slowly, dread pooling in my stomach, I turned. There, standing just inside the doorway leading back into the house, partially obscured by people coming and going, was the blank mask. Looking right at me, no doubt this time. The head was angled perfectly, the dark eye holes fixed on my face. And then it did something. It slowly raised one hand, dark glove, nothing unusual, and made a small, subtle gesture. Just lifted two fingers, index and middle, slightly apart, and held them there for a second, like a weird minimalist hello, or something else. It wasn't overtly threatening, but combined with the mask, the stillness, the constant watching, it felt incredibly sinister. Like a signal I didn't understand, but knew was meant for me. That was it. I was done. Prank or not, creepy costume or not, I couldn't take the feeling anymore. I mumbled an excuse to the people I was talking to and pushed my way back inside, deliberately avoiding the doorway where the figure stood. Found Jess. I gotta go, I told her, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. What? Now? It's still early. Yeah, I'm not feeling great. That mask guy is really freaking me out. Seriously. Just ignore them. It's probably just some weirdo art student, she said, but she saw the look on my face. Okay, okay. Want me to walk out with you? No, I'll be fine. I lied. Just want to get home. I said quick goodbyes, grabbed my jacket, and headed for the front door, scanning the rooms as I went. Didn't see the mask? Relief? Pushed through the front door, out onto the porch, down the steps, and froze. There, leaning against the porch, railing at the bottom of the steps, waiting, was the figure. Blank white mask gleaming faintly in the porch light, head tilted slightly, waiting for me. Pure, unadulterated panic surged through me. I didn't think, just bolted. Ran past the figure, who didn't move, didn't try to grab me, just stood there silently as I flew by. Down the walkway, out onto the street towards where my car was parked a block away. I fumbled frantically with my keys, convinced I'd hear footsteps running up behind me any second. Got the car unlocked, jumped in, slammed the door, locked it. Heart pounding so hard it hurt. Started the engine with trembling hands. Risked a look back towards the house as I pulled away from the curb. The figure was still standing there at the bottom of the porch steps, motionless, watching me leave. The blank white mask seemed to glow in the darkness. Driving home, I kept checking my rearview mirror, expecting to see those featureless white contours appear behind me. Nothing. Got home, locked everything. Front door, back door, windows. Didn't sleep much. Kept seeing that mask in my mind, those empty eye holes. Was it just a costume? An elaborate, creepy performance? Probably, almost certainly. But the feeling of being singled out, watched, silently gestured at by something hiding behind complete anonymity. That felt real. It was the not knowing that was terrifying. Who was under there? What did they want? Why me? The party ended. I escaped the immediate presence. But the memory of that blank mask and the utter unknown it represented still makes me uneasy in crowds, wary of costumes, forever wondering what might be hiding behind a featureless face. Some masks are definitely scarier than others. House parties in big old houses always have a certain vibe. Creaky floorboards, weird layouts, maybe rooms you're not supposed to go into. It's part of the atmosphere. Usually, the noise from the party, music, people shouting, drowns everything else out. But sometimes if you find a quiet corner, or if the music dips, you hear other things. The house settling, maybe pipes groaning, or sometimes something else. Something that doesn't quite belong. I heard something like that at Lisa's Halloween party, coming from upstairs, and it burrowed right under my skin. Lisa's parents had this huge, rambling Victorian house on the edge of town. Perfect place for a party. Loads of rooms, slightly spooky architecture already. The party was raging mostly downstairs. Living room, dining room, kitchen all packed. Music was loud. People were in costumes, typical stuff. After a while, needing a break from the crush and the noise, I wandered upstairs with my drink, looking for a quieter spot, maybe an empty bedroom to just sit for a minute. The upstairs hallway was darker. Music drifted up faintly from below. Most bedroom doors were closed. I respected that, assumed they were off limits. Found the bathroom, used it, came back out into the hall. As I stood there, deciding whether to head back down, I heard it, faint but distinct over the distant music thump. A noise coming from further down the hall, from behind one of the closed doors at the far end, near the back stairs. It was a soft, rhythmic thudding sound. Thud, pause, thud, pause. Good, not super loud, but steady, Consistent. My first thought was plumbing. Old house. Maybe a pipe banging somewhere in the wall. But it didn't sound quite metallic enough. It sounded softer, duller. Thud. Pause. Thud. Curiosity. Sparked. Which room was it coming from? I walked quietly down the dimly lit hallway. The thudding got slightly louder as I approached the last door on the left. It was an old, dark wood door, paint peeling slightly around the edges. Looked like maybe a spare bedroom or an old study. The thudding was definitely coming from inside there. Thud. Pause. Thud. What could it be? Someone shut in there? Maybe making something? It wasn't aggressive, just persistent. I leaned closer, putting my ear near the wood, trying to hear better. The thudding continued, steady as a slow heartbeat. Underneath it, I thought I could maybe hear something else, extremely faint. A soft scratching? Or maybe rustling? Hard to tell. Suddenly the thudding stopped, mid-rhythm. Just silence from behind the door. Did they hear me? I held my breath, listening intently. Nothing. Just the distant party sounds from downstairs and the creak of the old house around me. The silence felt heavier now, more watchful than when the thudding was happening. Okay, maybe it was just the house settling or pipes and it stopped coincidentally, but it felt weird. I reached out, tried the doorknob gently. Locked, of course. Why would an unused room at the end of the hall be locked during a party, unless it wasn't unused? I should have just walked away then, headed back downstairs to the noise and the lights. But that damn curiosity, mixed with a little bit of unease, kept me rooted there. What was making that sound? Why did it stop? I lingered for another minute, listening at the door. Still nothing. Fine. I decided to head back down. But as I turned, I heard a new sound from inside the room. A faint whimper, high-pitched, short, like a small dog maybe. Or something else. It was immediately followed by a soft scraping sound, like claws on wood, then silence again. Okay, now I was seriously unsettled. Was there an animal trapped in there? Maybe Lisa's parents' dog got shut in accidentally. That seemed like the most logical explanation. Poor thing. Maybe I should find Lisa, let her know. I started back down the main stairs, trying to push the weird sounds out of my mind. Rejoined the party, found Lisa holding court near the kitchen. The music was loud again. People were laughing. The creepy silence upstairs felt miles away now. Hey, Lisa, I shouted over the music. Is there a dog or something locked in that room at the end of the upstairs hall? The one by the back stairs? Lisa frowned, looking confused. Upstairs? No, we don't have a dog. And all those rooms up there are empty, just storage junk mostly. We keep them locked? Why? Oh, no reason, I stammered, feeling foolish. Thought I heard something. Must have been the wind or pipes or something. No dog. Rooms locked. Empty storage. Then what made the thudding? The whimper? The scratching? Lisa shrugged, already turning back to her conversation. I stood there, the noise of the party suddenly feeling distant again. An empty room. Locked? Making those noises? My unease returned, stronger this time. The rational explanations were crumbling. I couldn't help myself. I had to know. Making an excuse about needing the bathroom again, I slipped away from the crowd and headed back upstairs. The hallway felt even darker now, the silence more profound. I crept back towards the end room, heart pounding. As I got closer, I could hear it again. Not the thudding this time, but the scratching. Soft, persistent scratching, coming from the bottom of the door, like an animal trying to get out. But Lisa said there was no dog. I stood there, frozen, a few feet from the door. just listening to the soft scrape. Scrape on the other side of the wood. What was in there? A squirrel? Raccoon that got in somehow? But the whimper I heard earlier, then the scratching stopped. And a voice whispered right near the bottom of the door, low and hoarse, barely audible. Let me out. I swear, my feet almost left the floor. It wasn't a shout, wasn't a plea, just a dry, scratchy whisper. Let me out. Male, female, impossible to tell. Old, young, no idea. Just pure, distilled creepiness whispered through the keyhole or the crack under the door. I didn't respond. Didn't breathe. Just turned and fled. Scrambled down the back stairs this time, bypassing the main party, bursting out the back door into the yard. Stood there in the cool night air, gasping, looking up at the dark windows of the old house. Who was in that room? Why were they locked in? And why whisper like that? Was it someone genuinely trapped? Or something else pretending? The ambiguity was terrifying. Getting out of the house, getting away from that whispering door, was the escape. I didn't say goodbye to Lisa. Just found my jacket and left, walking quickly down the street, glancing back at the house until I turned the corner. Safe. Yes. Back in the normal world. But the memory of those sounds, the rhythmic thudding, the scratching, the whimper, and especially that dry whisper. Let me out. It stayed. It wasn't a ghost story. I didn't see anything supernatural. But the reality of it, the unanswered questions, felt almost worse. Was someone truly trapped in there, needing help I didn't give? Or was it something dangerous, something I was lucky to get away from? That uncertainty, the feeling of brushing up against something hidden and wrong within the walls of an ordinary house party. That's the part that lingers. It makes you listen a little closer to the sounds old houses make in the quiet. Parties can make you paranoid sometimes, especially big ones where you don't know everyone. You see little interactions out of the corner of your eye, maybe mishear snippets of conversation. It's easy to let your imagination run away with you, especially if you're naturally a bit anxious like me. Usually, you realize later it was nothing. But this one time at a massive warehouse party downtown, I think I saw something near the punch bowl, and the not knowing, maybe dash was dash, nothing dash, maybe dash was dash, horrible uncertainty. Still bothers me. The party was in one of those trendy, renovated warehouse districts. Huge open space, exposed brick, ridiculously loud DJ, flashing lights, hundreds of people crammed inside. Sensory overload. I was there with a couple of friends trying to navigate the crowd, mostly sticking near the edges. They had this massive punch bowl set up on a long table near the back, glowing faintly under some black lights, full of some suspiciously bright red concoction. Classic party juice. People were dipping plastic cups in constantly. I was standing maybe 20 feet away, talking to my friend Chloe, half watching the crowd. The area around the punch bowl was chaotic. People bumping into each other, laughing, spilling drinks. My eyes drifted over to the table just as someone new approached the bowl. He didn't quite fit the trendy warehouse party vibe. Older guy, maybe late 40s, wearing kind of drab clothes, nondescript. He didn't have a cup. He just sort of hovered near the end of the table for a second, looking around quickly. Like he was checking if anyone was watching him specifically. Most people were focused on the music or their own conversations. He probably thought no one was paying attention. He leaned over the table near the punch bowl, his back mostly to me. He seemed to be fiddling with something in his pocket for a second. Then his hand dipped quickly towards the surface of the punch. It wasn't like he dropped something in with a splash. It was more subtle, like maybe he sprinkled something or dripped something from a small vial. His hand hovered there for just a second, then retreated just as quickly back into his pocket. It was so fast, so smooth. If I hadn't been idly watching that exact spot, I would have missed it entirely. He straightened up, glanced around again with that same quick, furtive look, and then just melted back into the crowd. Moving away from the drinks table, he hadn't taken a drink himself. He hadn't talked to anyone. Just that quick, possibly suspicious action at the punch bowl, and then he was gone into the throng. My first reaction was confusion. What did I just see? Did he actually put something in the punch? Or did he just, check the ladle? Maybe flick a bug off the surface? Adjust his cufflink? My mind raced, trying to find a normal explanation. It had to be something normal. People don't just randomly spike punch bowls at huge parties, right? That's movie stuff. But the way he looked around first, that furtive, checking if anyone was watching glance, that felt wrong. That felt deliberate. And his hand movement, quick and low over the bowl, it didn't look like just checking the ladle. Chloe, I said, nudging her. Did you see that guy? What guy? She yelled back over the music, looking around vaguely. That older dude just now, by the punch bowl. Did you see what he did? No clue? Wasn't watching. Why? How could I explain it? I think he might have put something in the punch, I said, feeling ridiculous, even as the words came out. Chloe laughed. What? Seriously? You think someone spiked the punch bowl? Dude, relax. He probably just dropped some ice in or something. You're being paranoid. Was I? Maybe she was right. Maybe the loud music, the flashing lights, the general chaos were just making me jumpy. Seeing shadows. Misinterpreting a perfectly innocent action. I wanted to believe that. But the image of his quick hand movement, his nervous glances, it felt too real. What should I do? Run over and yell, "Don't drink the punch." People would think I was crazy. 'Cause a scene based on something I wasn't even 100% sure I saw correctly. Try to find the guy in the massive crowd? Impossible. Tell the party hosts? I didn't even know who they were. I felt paralyzed. Stood there watching people cheerfully dipping cups into the glowing red liquid, laughing, drinking. Every sip someone took sent a jolt of anxiety through me. Should I say something? Should I just grab my friends and leave? What if I was wrong and I ruined the party or looked like an idiot? What if I was right and I did nothing? I decided I couldn't risk drinking it, at least. Grabbed Chloe and my other friend, Mike. Hey guys, let's stick to beer or water, okay? I've got a weird feeling about that punch. They rolled their eyes but agreed, probably just humoring my perceived paranoia. We moved away from the drinks table, tried to get back into the party vibe, but I couldn't. My eyes kept scanning the crowd, looking for the drab older guy. Didn't see him again? Then my eyes kept getting drawn back to the punch bowl, watching people drink, waiting with a horrible sense of dread for something bad to happen. Nothing obvious did happen, not right away. People kept drinking the punch. No one collapsed. No one started acting overtly strange beyond the usual party antics. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe Chloe was right. The rational part of my brain breathed a sigh of relief, but the anxious part kept whispering doubts. Some things don't act immediately. Some things are subtle. We stayed for maybe another hour, but the fun was gone for me. Every time someone stumbled or laughed too loud or looked a bit glassy-eyed, my mind jumped to the punch. Was it starting? Was I just being hyper-aware now, attributing normal party behavior to something sinister? The ambiguity was maddening. Finally, I told my friends I was heading out, feeling drained and anxious. They decided to stay. Walking out of the loud, sweaty warehouse into the cool night air felt like escaping pressure. I got home. The normal sounds of my quiet apartment, a stark contrast to the party noise. The immediate situation was resolved. I didn't drink the punch. I left the party. But the unease lingered powerfully. What did I actually see? Was it a harmless gesture I misinterpreted due to the environment? Or did I witness someone potentially trying to harm dozens of strangers for no reason? The not knowing is the worst part. Did people get sick later? Did something else happen after I left? I scanned local news sites for days afterwards, looking for any mention of incidents related to the party. Found nothing. Which could mean nothing happened. Or it could mean whatever happened wasn't reported, or wasn't linked back to the party, or wasn't the kind of thing that would make the news. That night made me fundamentally distrustful of communal drinks at parties, sure. But more than that, it left me with a creeping sense of unease about unseen malice. About how easily something terrible could happen right under everyone's noses. Masked by noise and lights and laughter, witnessed only by chance, leaving you questioning your own eyes and wrestling with the chilling possibility of what might have been. Falling asleep at a party isn't usually a big deal. Maybe you wake up with a sore neck on someone's couch, friends laughing at you, piece together the end of the night. Embarrassing, maybe, but harmless. Waking up hours after the party ended in a house that's pitch black, dead silent, and completely empty. That's different. That's not harmless. That happened to me once, and the feeling of utter isolation and vulnerability. It still makes my skin crawl. It was Jin's annual end of summer bash at her parents' place while they were out of town. Big suburban house, decent crowd, music wasn't definitely loud for once. Just a chill vibe. I hadn't planned on staying super late. Had an early start the next day. Found a relatively quiet armchair in the den, away from the main action. Just nursing a beer, chatting occasionally. It had been a long week. I was tired, really tired. I remember leaning my head back, listening to the murmur of conversations from the other room, the faint bass line from the speakers somewhere. Just going to rest my eyes for a minute. The next thing I knew, I was blinking awake in absolute darkness. In absolute silence. My neck was stiff, my mouth dry. For a confused moment, I didn't know where I was. Then the faint smell of stale beer and party aftermath hit me. Jen's den. But why was it so dark? So quiet, I sat up slowly. The armchair felt huge in the darkness. No music, no voices. No lights anywhere in the house, it seemed. Just the faint, ambient glow filtering through the windows from streetlights outside. Barely enough to make out shapes. Panic started fluttering in my chest. What time was it? How long had I been asleep? Fumbled for my phone in my pocket. Screen flared to life, painfully bright. 3:47, what? The party couldn't have gone that late. Jen's parents were due back tomorrow afternoon. She wouldn't have let it rage all night. I must have slept for hours, solidly, through the end of the party, through people leaving, through everything. Okay. Weird. But maybe explainable. Heavy sleeper, tired week. Maybe Jen and the last few people tried to wake me, couldn't, and just left me there. Seemed like a crappy thing to do, but maybe they figured I'd wake up eventually, lock up myself. The house keys were usually left under the mat. Maybe. Oh. I called out softly, my voice sounding unnaturally loud in the dead silence. Jen? Anyone here? No answer, just the echo of my own voice in the dark, empty house. Got up, feeling unsteady. Used my phone flashlight to navigate out of the den. The rest of the house was a disaster zone of party aftermath. Empty cups, discarded plates, a few stray articles of clothing. But completely empty of people. The silence was oppressive. Every creak of the floorboards under my feet sounded like a gunshot. Checked the front door. Locked. Deadbolted. Checked the back door through the kitchen. Locked too. Checked the windows downstairs. All closed and locked. My stomach dropped. They didn't just leave me. They locked me in. Why would they do that? Unless they didn't know I was still here. But how could they not see me? Asleep in the armchair right off the main living area. Unless they weren't the ones who locked up. That thought sent a fresh wave of cold dread through me. What if the party ended, everyone left, but someone else came back or someone stayed behind, hidden, waiting? Suddenly, the empty, silent house didn't feel just empty. It felt wrong, dangerous. I moved more cautiously now, phone flashlight beam darting nervously into corners, up the dark staircase leading to the second floor. Should I go up there? Check the bedrooms? What if someone was up there, hiding, listening to me moving around downstairs? No, bad idea. Stay downstairs. Find a way up. Tried my phone again. Still had battery, but zero signal inside the house. Of course. Walked around the downstairs again, checking window latches more carefully. All secure. Tried rattling the back doorknob again. Solidly locked. How was I going to get out? Break a window? Seemed extreme and loud. What if that attracted the wrong kind of attention? If someone was lurking outside? Then I heard it. A faint sound from upstairs, a soft thump, like something being set down gently on a carpeted floor. I froze, flashlight beam aimed uselessly at the ceiling. My breath caught in my throat. I wasn't alone. Someone was upstairs. Had they been there the whole time? Did they lock the doors? Were they waiting for me to wake up? Why hadn't they made a sound until now? Silence returned. Heavy, waiting silence. I stood paralyzed in the middle of the messy living room, straining to hear anything else over the frantic pounding of my own heart. Was it just the house settling? An animal outside? Or was someone moving silently through the upstairs rooms, listening, waiting? Then another sound, softer this time. A creak, coming from the top of the main staircase. Like someone shifting their weight on an old floorboard. That was it. Forget finesse. Forget worrying about noise. I had to get out now. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed the heaviest frying pan I could find from the stove. Felt stupid, felt terrified. Went to the back door again. If I couldn't unlock it, maybe I could break the glass panel. As I reached the back door, my flashlight beam caught something on the small table next to it. Something that hadn't been there before. I was almost certain. A single key. Looked like the key to the back door deadbolt. Sitting right there. Placed deliberately? Was this a trap? Or a way out left for me? By Jen? Or by whoever was upstairs? Did they want me to leave? Or were they waiting for me just outside the door? Hesitated for only a second. Staying trapped inside with someone potentially creeping down the stairs felt infinitely worse than facing whatever might be outside. Pan gripped tight. I grabbed the key, heart hammering. It slid into the deadbolt, turned smoothly. With a heavy click, the lock opened. Took a deep breath. Turned the doorknob slowly, pulled the door open, just a crack. Peered out into the dark backyard. Saw nothing but shadows, the faint outline of the patio furniture, the trees at the edge of the lawn. Took another breath, yanked the door open, and bolted out into the damp night air. Ran across the lawn, expecting a hand to grab me from the darkness, a figure to step out from behind a tree. Reached the side gate, fumbled with the latch, shoved it open, and didn't stop running until I was blocks away. Back on a main street, gasping for air under the familiar glow of streetlights. Safe. Out. Adrenaline slowly started to recede. leaving me shaky and cold. I looked back in the direction of Jen's house, hidden now by trees and distance. What the hell happened back there? Did I really sleep through everyone leaving and locking up? Who was upstairs? Why leave the key? Was it June feeling guilty? Was it the person upstairs letting the mouse out of the trap? Or was there never anyone upstairs at all? Just an old house making noises and my panicked mind filling in the blanks? Getting out, escaping the locked house, was the resolution. But the feeling of waking up utterly alone, trapped, vulnerable, and then realizing maybe I wasn't alone after all, that's the part that sticks. The profound sense of wrongness, the unanswered questions. Why leave the key? Who made the sounds? It left me feeling deeply unnerved, questioning my own judgment, and with a lingering fear of falling asleep in unfamiliar places. Sometimes waking up is the start of the nightmare, not the end.